Happy Monday, everybody out there in the You Are Worthy Network. So grateful to be with you all again today. Today I'm struggling myself with gratitude. That's why I intentionally use that word because I've learned over the years that it comes easier for some people than others. Me, I have to fight for it a little more than most. But it's an amazing thing when you choose gratitude, how it right sizes everything. It's the great equalizer. Like I'm going on a trip in a couple days. I don't particularly want to go on it. It's a little bit of a stressful trip. Um, so that's still 48 hours away, and it's starting to affect my Monday. So there's some worry, there's some doubt, there's some mistrust. But if I choose gratitude, it pushes the negativity out. Now, depending on how you're wired, you may have to choose it several times a day, but it is a choice and it becomes cumulative. I tell people all the time, if you're struggling, write down about 5 things you're grateful for, and you'll be amazed after that five how things begin to snowball in a good way. And you've got 15, you've got 20. And it took about 5 minutes and you got 20 things you're grateful for. And all of a sudden, perspective is a lot brighter. I don't know why I got off on this topic of gratitude so early in this conversation, but I did. But I say that because I'm grateful for each of you that's either going to watch live with us today or watch this over the next 30 days and beyond on our YouTube channel. So grateful to be with you all. I want to tell you about our guest and my friend Daryl Snow. And, well, let me read this a little differently. Daryl's wife and kids would say that he is a caring, loving man who does not accept excuses, but brings out the best of those around him. His friends would say he's a deep, forward thinker who sees a solution, sometimes an out of the box one, in every single problem. Daryl says he's a person who can spark individual change from within and guide people to living a more joy-filled life. Who doesn't need that right now? With a focus on internal transformation, his mission is to inspire and equip people to unlock their full potential. His passion lies in helping others to embrace a new mindset, cultivate valuable skills, and step into a more authentic life. Daryl brings years of knowledge and practical insight to every encounter he has. His ability to decipher what is and what isn't being said and to simplify the complex allows a chance for deeper conversations to occur. Honor and integrity are pillars that he stands on. His word is his bond, which helps him live an authentic life himself. Wow, I love the description, Daryl. Welcome to the Our Worthy Network. So glad to have you here.
I appreciate it. And I love the way you were able to read that. I might have to have you hired as my press guy.
Yeah, well, I started reading it. I was like, I gotta use the pronouns a little bit differently, but you know what? It all worked out. Yeah, I can't wait to get into a little bit of the mindset and how you help people. But we'll get there eventually. Tell us, Daryl, what part of the world you live in right now, and have you always lived there?
I currently live in Arizona, and actually, this is the third time I've lived in Arizona. I was born and raised in Minneapolis, and then grew up in Iowa. And when I became able to leave my little town, I traveled all over the United States and have lived millions of places. I literally, for a good portion of my life, used to just throw a dart at a map, and then that's where I would move. So, yeah, I've lived everywhere, but this is the third time in Arizona. So
I'd say you like it.
I say that I came back to find my wife. That's how I describe it. Because
Mm.
I actually don't hate it, but I don't love it. But it's where I met my wife, and I think the third time was the charm, finding her. So
Okay. Well, tell us about this special lady.
my wife, she and I met 11 years ago, and just it was supposed to be a 30-minute meet and greet, have coffee or whatever, and we ended up having a 5-hour conversation, and we've been together ever since. So, God really blessed both of us to bring each other into our lives at the time where we really needed each other the most. So, yeah, I'm just grateful what God has done by bringing her to me. So,
Oh, that's awesome. How many years have you guys been married?
we've been together now 11 years. So, it's has a long cup of coffee.
But a very rich one indeed.
A very rich one indeed. Yes. I'm truly blessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
grateful
guys
to use your word.
gotta insert gratitude wherever we can for sure. Um, and so do you guys have children together?
No, we met later in life. I'm 61 now, and she's just a little bit behind me, and so our children were grown, but blended. They're together, ours anyway. So she has a son, and I have a daughter, and together we have the four of us. So.
Are they spread out all over the country or are they close by?
Our son lives just a couple miles from us now. He was at one point living up in Washington. Then he got an executive chef's job in Dallas, so he lived there for a while, and now he's come back home. And our daughter, she was in the Navy for 4 years, 6 years, 6 years, and now she lives in Alabama. So, yeah, they've been everywhere, but some of them are coming back. So.
I gotcha. I gotcha. So what do you and your wife like to do together for fun in Arizona?
Arizona's a lot of hiking and nature stuff, if you do it not July through September when it's, triple digits,
Mm.
you got to do it kind of in the off season. But, we like to hike. We like to, go to the movies, but we're both very much nature people. So being outdoors and being in nature is, we go up to the North Country, Sedona, Payson, some of those areas where it's vastly different than the low desert, but richly beautiful. So, yeah, and we love to travel. We day trips, weekend trips, week trips, in and out of the country. It doesn't matter. We just love to see what's around us. So explore and see what else God has created that we haven't been aware of yet.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say your favorite place out of the country to visit was?
Well, Spain was really our favorite. My wife is Portuguese. She was born in the Azores, and then they moved to Boston when she was 3. So she grew up going to Lisbon in the summers and going around, Portugal. So I took her back for our 10-year anniversary to go to Portugal and Spain, and Madrid was absolutely beautiful. Spain in general
Mm.
is gorgeous. So we have a bucket list. We want to see, of course, Italy and the Czech Republic and a lot of Europe, but right now Spain was, where we both really liked.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful. Sounds like a maybe a tour of Europe, maybe in order at some point.
I've always wanted to grab a backpack and just backpack around Europe, but at 60, I might have to get a little lighter backpack.
Yeah. Let's go back in time quite a bit. And I'm trying to think how far back I want to go. Let's say you're a couple years removed from high school. So, 20, 21 years old. Give us a little glimpse into the mindset of young Daryl. What did he want to do with his life? Were you in the middle of college? Were you doing something else? Just give us a feel of what dreams you had at that age and the mindset that you had that was going to fulfill them, or maybe you didn't know at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, I when we moved out of Minneapolis, when my mom met my father, we moved to a small town. We're famous for the death of Buddy Holly and corn. So Clear Lake, Iowa is a tiny blip on the map, but notorious for that incident in the 50s.
Mm.
But our town was like 7,000. Everybody was in everybody's business and everyone knew everybody. And so, like most of us, we want to leave and explore and, go find something else. I was a Eagle Scout, so I grew up in service to others and helping others and, just kind of wanted to see where else it went. But what really sparked my ability to do that was my father because I was going to junior college, getting ready to go to bigger college, and I quit college because a job came along, and like most dumb, stupid people, I took the money instead of the education, and I actually didn't get my bachelor's degree till I was 35, and I didn't get my master's till I was 50. So my true education came later. But my father, at that time, I had an opportunity to take a job in Florida, and obviously it meant bigger city, being away from family and home, and although I was anxious to leave, I was still a little, had trepidation and a little fear about it. And my dad sat me down and he said, "Home will always be here. You're only a phone call away. And if you ever need, you're only a flight back. So go live your life and find what you want to do and where your dreams are." And from that moment on, I was never afraid to leave again. And it's why I was able to throw a dart and just go wherever it landed. And, I always had the rest assuredness that home was still there no matter where I was. So it gave me that freedom to just go and find life.
Yeah, what a supportive parent. I mean, that had to give you a boost of confidence for sure, and just thrust you out there. Um,
Well, he always said his job was to make us self-sufficient adults who could leave the nest and be, a valuable member of society without having to, live at home. So I think he did his job pretty good.
yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that's a great example of parenting right there. So this job that you took, did it last a long time, or was it one of many?
I actually didn't take that job. I actually decided against it for other reasons, but it was going to be one of many. My wife and I joke all the time because she worked 30 years at one job, and I say I had 30 jobs in that same period of time. So I was trying to find myself. I was good at sales, talking to people, and so I figured as long as I could use my words and whoever's product I was selling, I'd always have a job. So I never really feared it, but I was always searching for something of my own, and I would dip in and out of corporate America, but it I hate the corporate politics. I hate the injustice. I was always the one in the meetings falling on the sword for everyone else, for what they were saying on the floor, but wouldn't say to management. And so I dipping in and out of corporate, but I was always trying to find my own way. So eventually, I've actually owned three different companies now, and it's kind of led me to have an appreciation for hard work because yeah, it's a lot to build a business. Um, but it's also allowed me to learn to pivot really quickly and to also not get down on yourself when things don't go, what others might call failure, I call a learning opportunity. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah. So did those three companies that you owned, did they come much later?
Yeah, they came later in life after I'd earned my degree. I had a graphic design company, and did and then technology kind of destroyed the industry. You could now drop and drag a website instead of having one custom made and custom built. Logos, you can go on Fiverr and get 15 different designs for $10, and so it kind of made that go away. So I transitioned into photography, and I was doing commercial photography as well as regular photography. And then, this little gadget came out, and suddenly everyone thought they were a photographer. So that kind of took that away. And then I was in financial planning for a while. I sold mutual funds and insurance. Um, and then my first divorce happened and took all that away. And now, for the last 7 years, I've had a business. Praxis 33 has been my coaching and consulting business, which now has been transforming. God made me start a podcast, and that led to other things that are now happening. But yeah, it's all come later in life, but I think it had to because of the learning that I still needed to do and the healing I still needed to have happen for it to be meaningful and something that I really would put towards valuing what others needed and not what I needed.
Yeah, I caught the comment, God made me start a podcast. We'll come back to that in a second. But I want to make sure I understand. So the name of your overall business is Practice 33?
Praxis,
Prac
Praxis 33. And praxis means the integration of thought and action. And 33 is an angel number for success and prosperity. So the
mm.
people that I was helping, I wanted their thought and their actions to align. And then if that aligns, then the success and the prosperity would come. So Praxis 33 was born. And again, I believe it was a God thing for the naming just because of the meaning. But yeah.
So I know you're moving away from the coaching directly, but just give us a little insight to how you helped clients specifically.
Well, like I said in my bio, I can really pick up on what a person is or is not saying,
Mhm.
and I can help unify that in their mind. A lot of people who are wanting transformation, first off, they're not often aware of the amount of work that it's going to take. We live in a society that everything is a pill or a button and everything's done, quickly. And true growth and transformation is a process. It's a long process. So first off, we have to get to the root of what's causing your blockage, right? And my master's is in psychology, so how the brain works and how that um, functions is a big part of helping you understand what's going on with you. And I speak in pictures and quotes a lot because I find it's easier for people to understand, if you give them a visual imagery. So doing all that with them helps align their passion with their purpose so that the transformation can occur. But they all hate that four-letter word, work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's definitely a instantaneous society now for sure. And
yeah, and you and I mean, we grew up when you still could percolate coffee, and now everyone's like, if it's not done in 30 seconds, it's, taking too long. So,
oh my goodness, my joke about that is God doesn't have any microwaves in heaven, only crock pots. And sometimes I have to check with him, make sure mine's plugged in because I don't want to delay it any further than it already is.
exactly. Yep, it's exactly right.
Oh, so tell us about the story about how the podcast was started. It sounds like there was tell me if I'm wrong, but was there a little wrestling with God on that one?
There was a lot of wrestling with God. When I was doing my coaching and my business really heavy, um, God told me you're supposed to start a podcast. And I said, no. I literally said, I do not own a camera. I do not own a microphone. It's not, I don't want to do that. And I said, I don't want to do that for about 6 months. And during that 6 months, he got louder and louder. And that spiritual two by four got more painful. And
Mm,
so a serendipitous moment happened where I came across a friend of mine who had an amazing story. And I said, okay, I hear you, God. I'm going to buy the microphone. I'm going to buy the camera and I'm going to get their story out there. Because what he told me was that I was supposed to give a voice to the voiceless, turn their mess into their message, and make it a survival guide for others.
yep.
And fast forward 4 years, 165 interviews later, and that's exactly what's happened. And that's why it was called a warrior spirit, because, and as our friend Raquel so aptly helped with the lyrics to my theme song, it's not about the fight, it's how we rise from it. And that's what the true warrior is. And it's not always that you have to fight for yourself. Sometimes it's fighting for others, you know. But a good warrior or a true warrior knows not only when to pick up the sword, but to when to lay it down, because you don't have to always be on the battlefield. You just have to be a presence. So that's kind of what it's been.
Wow. Um, give us a couple specific things that God has grown you in. You said 4 years you've been doing it?
4 years now, yep.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I love that vision too. Um, Getting other people's story out there, overcoming story testimonies, things like that. I love what you're doing. How have you personally grown?
Well, I mean, I always was a good listener, but now I've become a really good listener because being a show host, as you're well aware of, sometimes it's about guiding a person to where they need to go or where they wanted to go through the right questions. And you can't ask the right questions if you didn't listen to what they were saying. So intuitively, I've developed the ability to help guide a lot of these guests because many of them have never spoken anywhere. Many of them have rarely ever shared their story. And
Mm,
so, they're not professionals. They're not people out there. Some of them have been, some of them are, but not all of them. A lot of them are just your average Joe who's been through some crap and, overcome it and who is now standing tall. And one of the greatest, most humbling things that I ever hear at the end of any of these is thank you for giving me a safe space because there's part of that I've never told anybody. Or,
wow.
thank you for allowing me to actually share that. And then I watch them go on to do whatever really cool or great things that they're going to go do because now they've been released from whatever they were carrying. They feel the confidence to go share it and their life just elevates. So it's been amazing, and again, I'm always humbled that, of course, God's vision is better than ours. And, He's made this show more than I ever thought it would ever be when I was back saying no. So
Yeah. I love how God's grown you in that period of time. And I love it that, at least if I'm hearing you right, sounds like oftentimes he's bringing people to you with incredible stories and he's bringing them to you fairly early in their communication part of the journey. Does that make sense?
for the vast majority of the people now this year and early starting mid last year, I see some more people coming into my sphere that are a little more out there that have spoken a little bit more often, but they now are speaking on that part of where they are. They don't speak as often on what it took to get them there. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of nice that I can bring them back because you do this a lot and I've done this a lot. Sometimes when a person's out there telling their story, it just becomes wrote for them, they forget that there's actually some interesting pieces that they're leaving out
Yeah.
because now it's just secondary to them. So giving them a platform to bring that back out is what helps others to say, "Oh, I can relate to that." It's not about how successful you are. You know, I've had Olympic coaches, I've had the general of the UN Council in Iran, like I've had a lot of really powerful people on the show, but I've had the people who just walk down the street doing their job,
Yeah.
and they all have a voice and they all have a story. And people may not, I can't relate to the UN General Secretary of Security in Iran, but I can relate to the fact of what he overcame and how he got
Mhm.
there. I can relate to the fact that we all go through something. And it's amazing because you forget, all you see is the success. You forget they walked through some fire to get there. And sometimes they forget that they walked through some fire to get there. So,
Yeah, that is so intriguing. Um, that's part of why I launched this too, is like I could have people talk all day long about their highlight reel, and there is value in it. However, you're right. They want to see someone that has overcome the same type of challenges because we're all going through storms. We've all either been through one, we're in one, or getting ready to go through the next one.
mhm.
And it's that common connection of oh my gosh, the word is escaping me right now, but enduring, perseverance, resilience, that whole family, that we relate to that. That inspires us when somebody else went through it and came out on the other side. I'm interested in let's go back for just a second to that wrestling with God before launching the podcast. I like to do this once in a while, and I never know when God's going to put it on my heart to prompt somebody with this, but I'm gonna try it here. If you could describe that season of wrestling with God for a few months before you launched, describe your heart towards the podcast idea. Describe it in just 3 words.
Never gonna do it.
Never gonna happen.
Never gonna happen. Sorry,
Okay.
God. Once in your life, you got it wrong. You got the wrong guy. You got the wrong time. You got the wrong message. You're wrong.
Okay. Now, 3 words to describe it now.
Glad I said yes. It's 4 words, but
Yeah, yeah. We won't hold it against you. So I take it based on those answers that God appears to not be done with it by a long shot, and that you're grateful that he's not.
I'm absolutely grateful. See, when I was here's the thing about being obedient, and we're all human and we all do this. So we all say, God, take the wheel, Jesus, take the wheel, but then we keep our left hand on it, going, no, but steer it over here. And when you actually are just in obedience and fully take your hand off, because God told me that this show was never to be about me. And so for the first 2 years, I literally just turned on a Zoom camera, hit record, never edited it, and just put it out there. And then in year 3, he said, okay, now it's time to elevate. And within a few months of that, I met a person who is the number one, he's in the top 1% of podcasting. And
Hmm.
he just happens to live in the valley here, in the metro area. So we got to be good friends, and he showed me how to, buy software for better cameras, buy better microphones, how to elevate the show, how to create more of an interest with scenes, and all this other stuff. And then as I started doing that, a few months later, a mutual friend of ours, Elena Rodriguez, called me, and I've known Elena for 3 or 4 years, and I know her heart, and I know what she does, and I know who she is. And she called me and says, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going, but would you like to be on the TV show with me? Be a host." Well, this time I was smart enough not to say no because I knew it was a God thing, right? So he brought my show to Prospera TV Network, which is now on Roku, soon to be on Fire Stick, now seen in 17 countries. And
Mm.
then through that, I met Raquel, who then gave my show a theme song. Not only that, and then she was writing a book, Say Yes to the Whisper, which is exactly what happened to this podcast. So now I have co-authored a book, and now she's started a radio show and asked me to syndicate my show on the radio show. And none of this has anything to do with me. It's about God using my voice so others can hear his message. And it's been an amazing 4 years that I am humbled by and grateful for. And I'm excited to see where he takes it next because Netflix just picked up a bunch of podcasts. And so, I'm okay if this is one of them.
Yeah, you never know. So tell folks where they can find the podcast now, and then tell us a little bit about the collaboration book.
Actually, I made it really easy to find me everywhere because it's on all the major platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, all of them. So instead of having everyone to search everywhere, they can actually just go to link.bio. It's lnk.bio/Daryl underscore praxis 33. And if you go to that link, then all of my platforms are there and you can choose whichever one fits you. So I made it one click easy.
And we'll have that in the show notes afterwards too. And so tell us a little bit about the book.
The book is something that Raquel authored. She got 20 some people to come together and share their message of how their life changed when they said yes to God's whisper. And so I was able to write my chapter, part of my story that isn't as clean as we've made it here. I've you know had a lot of my own trials and muck that I went through, and then how saying yes to this kind of transformed that, and also saying yes. I look at I've if we look, there's a lot of ways where things work out when we say yes to what God is telling us. One was going on the meet and greet with my wife, and then the other was this podcast. So, but it's nice now because Elena, with it all being on TV, now I get to say I'm a TV show host and a radio host. So it gets elevated a little.
Yeah, I like that. By the way, because Daryl's mentioned Raquel a couple different times here, we're going to give her a plug. He's referring to Raquel Soto, who's in the Chicago area. Daryl and I both know her. Awesome woman of God, very, very wise businesswoman in the Christian arena for sure. And Daryl and I both know her. And then, just in case you haven't seen it, I just interviewed Raquel. I think it was Friday. It was Thursday or Friday of last week. So that's still up, for the next 27, 28 days. But it's also on YouTube, just like Daryl's interview will be up on YouTube here a couple hours after we're finished. You know, you mentioned the muck and the mud. Um, I think it's important, like in your situation, well, anybody's situation, like I said earlier, we could talk about all the highlights. You've owned three companies, you've had a successful coaching program, you've now had a 4 year successful podcast, you've co-authored a book, now you can say TV and radio host. I mean, these are, and I know you're going to deflect it to God, and we should, okay, but successful nevertheless. Um, what period of your time can you tell us, just give us a glimpse into a season in your life where maybe things weren't going so well and you didn't feel worthy of love, respect, and success?
Well, as loving and guiding as my father was, my mother was not such. I grew up in a very abusive relationship with my mother, and so when you're always fearing that the next item in her hand is going to be her next weapon, you
Mm,
grow up thinking that you're not really worthy of a lot of love because
Mm,
you don't hear the word love, you're not embraced by the hug, you don't feel you feel like, and you hide behind perfectionism because now if
yeah.
everything is right, then maybe I won't get hit. If everything's right, then maybe I won't get hit. And so you dive into this almost neurotic need to be perfect. And as you grow up that way, and then girlfriends leave, you get divorced, you go file bankruptcy, you things happen, it just solidifies that unworthy feeling. And there was anyone who's listened to my story previously, they know there's a period of time where I was actually homeless and living out of my car. And but later in life it transcends too, because when your ex-wife cheats on you and you're suddenly divorced and you've gone through bankruptcy because of all that, and you're still floundering around trying to figure out what your actual purpose in life is, um, there's a lot. And the irony is that throughout it all, you're still trying to help others be better and do better, right? So
Mm.
we learn to surrender, because I can guarantee you when we're in the muck, in the mud, we're not sitting there going, "Hey, thanks God for the lesson I'm going to use 20 years from now." You're just like, "How the hell do I get out of here?"
That's
Right?
right.
So, but everything is a lesson, and everything, if you look back in your life, you can see how it builds onto where your successes came from and where you are, because those are where you learned your tenacity, your internal fortitude, your I can get back up mentality. There isn't anything anyone can say or do to me now that's going to ever bother me, because I've been through it all and
Mm,
I've survived it all. And I've
hmm.
survived it all, yes, because of the grace of God, but because I reached down inside myself and did the work to heal all those wounds and not be a victim to my life and be a victor over my life.
Yeah, I relate to your story a lot. Um, Similar with my mom, similar with living out of my car, bankrupt, much later on. So I relate to that a lot. And I'm sure your faith did help a ton. But you probably picked up some practical tools along the way to help you cope with those storms that came your way. Is that a fair assessment
Well,
that you picked it?
I mean, if you've lived in your car, you understand. You learn to view the world around you in a different eye. You're very aware of you don't just walk blindly through life. You look at everything and you look at it through a different lens, and you look at it a little deeper. Was that really what it was supposed to be, or was that somebody being fake and trying to gain something? Was that someone who's actually caring, or is that someone who's trying to use me? Is that a good road to be on, or should I kind of go in a different path? And you learn to really discern through life who and what you can trust. And that's where authenticity really becomes etched in you, because you only can trust someone who's being authentic.
Hmm. That's true. That is true. Is your mom still with us?
My mom passed about a year and a half ago now. So yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's okay. As she got older in life, I knew she was, sorry for her actions. But as I got more healed, I understood that she didn't have the tools in her toolbox to give what she needed, because she never got them from her dad. Her toolkit was missing some pieces because her life was missing some pieces.
I, I'm so glad you said that. I was gonna say that. That's usually how it goes. What we see in the moment, it's unfair. It affects our worthiness, our trust, a variety of other things. But as we mature and can look back a little bit, like they really were probably doing the best they could with what tools they had. And if they had minimal to no tools, you get the result. It doesn't make okay. It doesn't make it okay what happened, but it gives you a bigger perspective and therefore grace. I guess maybe grace in hindsight, but
There's
grace
definitely
nevertheless.
grace, and the thing that I wish would have happened is that somewhere along the line, she would have had the capacity to talk about it in depth a little bit more because she wasn't willing to face her own pain. She wasn't willing to face her own inner healing. She wasn't willing to face any of that. So when the conversations become surface level, hey, the sky's blue and it's sunny today, there's no opportunity for deeper connection, especially when you're someone who is craving a deeper connection and that's all you get from the other side. So the relationship becomes very surface level. Do I love you? Yes, you're my mom. I love you. Do you love me? Yes, I'm your son. You love me. And I know that there's regret and there's, things there, but if there's no discussion, it can never go deeper. And so the relationship can't deepen. And so that's the one regret before her passing is that I wish she could have healed enough to have at least a meaningful I'm sorry, you know?
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a stereotype, but it's been my experience that her generation didn't go that deep that often.
And it ain't a stereotype. It's true.
I was being conservative with it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
no, and that's true. Our generation and those ahead of us or behind us, they're more open to that type of discussion. Now, it might take them a little longer to get there, but they're still at least knowing that some of that has to happen. So, but you're right.
And amen to that. That is progress. That is a good thing. Um, you also, I'm switching gears now, kind of suddenly. You're also desiring to get into more public speaking. How much have you done? What are you looking to do with that? Do you have the time to travel on the speaking circuit now?
Yeah, I have been doing some public speaking over the last, 4 years since this podcast has done. Most of them, the world shut down for the longest period of time, so a lot of them were on virtual stages. So now that we're a little more opened up again, my desire is to get on more public paid stages. My actual coming up here soon, I'm actually enrolling in a speaking program that will help hone some of those skills necessary because, I've been an adjunct professor. I've taught leadership programs. I've been in front of people. I did stand-up comedy in the 80s and 90s. I've been on stages, I've been talking to people, but that's different than honing your message. And so that this program that I'm coming up on is really going to hone that and help make that even better. Because my goal isn't to just stand and speak. I can do that right here. My goal is to have greater impact.
Yeah.
And so even at 61, I have to hone those skills and make those better. But again, serendipitously, if I look back through my life, I've been practicing for a long time, and God has put me in places where it's been necessary. And now it's just the next step that He's taken me on.
Yeah, that inspires me, brother, because we've only started to get to know each other, but looking at your journey from 30,000 feet, I can see that progression to that. And you have a lot of wisdom and a lot of life experience to share. And so I think it's exciting. You're absolutely right in that, I speak every week. and as a preacher, but I was amazed when I did my first speaking reel. I guess it was 18 months ago, maybe. Um, I guess we could say the art of the craft and just how much work goes into that if you want to be excellent, which, most people don't go into anything to be anything less than. Um, but you'll get there and you're just a few years, not much. You're just a few years older than me. And that inspires me because that's something I want to do more and more as well. But because of some bandwidth challenges, I can't get out there quite as much as I'd like. But I'm going to stay tuned. Um, give us give us give us your favorite keynote topic as of right now.
Currently, my favorite one is the two wolves because we have both, I'm part Native American, so it's a Native American story that's been told, for a long period of time, but how I have applied it to my own life and the two wolves that have battled within me the entire journey that I've lived is my favorite because if I is like you were saying when we first came on air, if you focus on the negative and the crap, that's what you're going to see. And if you focus on what you're grateful for, that's what you're going to see. And the message of the two wolves is, which one's going to win? And the wise Indian chief says, the one you feed the most. And that is by far the truth. And it's been the truth my entire life. No matter what I'm going through, what I feed the most is what I get the most of.
Absolutely the truth. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Oh my goodness, this is so rich. So tell us one more time. I know you did a little while ago. Tell us one more time where people can find you,
It's link.bio/ Daryl _Praxis 33, and it's lnk.bio.
and we'll thank goodness we'll have that correct when I go to put it in the show notes. And Daryl, tell us, and you may have already done it in the flow of dialogue, but tell us any last words of encouragement you would have with the viewers. Say somebody is watching this today, later on today, and they're in a spot of they haven't felt hope in a long time. Things feel heavy, things feel dark. Um, they have all the potential in the world, but what encouragement would you give them today to fight one more day?
Well, first, I have to discern, and this would only be through talking with them. Do they even want to get out of where they are right now? Because some people want to stay where they are and they don't want to get out of that. They're comfortable in it. It's like an old coat, we just keep putting it on. But if you truly want to get out of that, understand that you're not alone. You're not the only person who's walked that path or that journey. There are others, and you have to be willing to ask for help. So many of us think that it's some kind of martyrdom, and I was one of them. I can do it. I can do it alone. I can get there. Well, not always can you. Sometimes you just need to find a space to be able to share your story, and even if it's only one person, you don't have to get on a camera and say it on a podcast. You don't have to get up on a stage and speak it from the stage, but verbalizing it releases it from your body. And if you just have one person or one place that you can honestly and openly, with no judgment, share your story, that's going to be such a cathartic start to your healing process because our body stores all of our traumas. Our body stores all of our heartaches and our heartbreaks, and it starts to affect us physically and mentally
Mhm.
and emotionally. So when you release it, it takes that power away. Find one person that can just sit with you where you are, not where they think you should be or not where you have potential to go, but where you are in that moment. And that can start your healing process.
I love that. Find one person you can begin to tell your story with. So, a couple things that I catch in that is you got to want that. And two, choose that person wisely.
Hmm.
Choose that person wisely. Make sure it's somebody that's a supporter, an encourager, someone you can trust, someone that's a good listener, someone like Daryl.
But it
Might
is
not
going
be
to,
Daryl.
but yeah, but Steve, it's going to also take this because many people are fixers. Many people are wanting to help and improve and do, and you will be required to start that conversation by saying, I don't need you to do anything. I know you
Yep.
can't fix this. I just need to talk about it. And you need to have someone who's just willing to listen and sit there with you. And trust me, it's been one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn as someone who wants to fix everything is to just sit and listen, hold space so that they have the safety to tell their story.
Oh my gosh, so many stories are coming to my mind right now about people that have done just that. We don't have time to go into all that, but that is such gold. So hear that in Daryl's advice. If you're in that position, you still have a responsibility. Well, you're responsible for your healing, number one. Two, you have to set yourself up for success by saying, I don't need fixing. I don't need more information. My brain is not broken. Right now, my heart is broken. I just need you to listen, please. Can you do that for me? I love that. That's gold. Daryl, this has been fun. This has been it's flown by. I knew it would, but I appreciate the wisdom, the kindness, and the authenticity. I
Well,
really
thank you.
appreciate you sharing a heart with the viewers today. It's been awesome. Thank you for being our guest.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. It's nice to be on the other side of the mic for a change.
Yeah. I understand for sure. Guys, I hope you've listened intently. Um, Daryl's had ups and downs. We all have ups and downs, and it is so easy in this age of social media, everything at our fingertips, and people rarely, they rarely show you their struggles online. Sometimes people will be real and do that, and I appreciate it when they do. But they're showing you their highlights. They're showing you with all their makeup on. They're showing you with all their awards and accolades. But there's a lot of battling that goes on between those things. And Daryl's been vulnerable with his. I've tried to be vulnerable with mine here and there when I've had an opportunity with you guys. So you're not alone, and you don't have to be alone. And those people are out there that will give you both their ears, be patient with you, and just sit with you and listen. I love it. I love it. I appreciate each one of you. My last reminder for you today is that God is not done with your story yet. Even if you're in a really great spot, He's not done. And if you're in that spot looking for encouragement, He's certainly not done. Not everybody woke up this morning. Each day is a gift. Let's choose gratitude together. How about that for a Monday message? Let's just choose gratitude together. I'm grateful for each one of you. Until next time, God bless. Talk soon.